It is November 30th, 2025, and we are watching as the Trump administration is beating the drums of war, turning up the tensions targeting Venezuela. We have Trump coming out and declaring that the airspace over Venezuela should be considered closed in its entirety. Not really sure that's his decision to make, but he certainly is telling everyone that it is. We've got reports that Trump spoke on the phone to Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro last week and apparently invited him to the US, which would be a trap, also called for him to step down or else he would be ousted by the US. And we also have reports on top of that that the US military is rehearsing for land strikes targeting Venezuela as they, of course, have this increased military buildup in the Caribbean. So, what does all of that mean for the current tensions and where could we be headed? Well, we got into all of that and more on this week's episode of Sanctioned, an exclusive weekly deep dive series for my paid subscribers. So let's take a listen to a free preview of this week's episode now. Let's start off with this statement that Trump made on Truth Social on Saturday. He was certainly not taking the holiday weekend off, not taking any time to rest. Instead, he's apparently plotting war against Venezuela. As he said, quote, "To all airlines, pilots, drug dealers, and human traffickers, please consider the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety. Thank you for your attention to this matter." And I know one of the things that we talk about a lot when it comes to Trump is the fact that he's not hiding anything, right? He's putting it all out in the open. But I look at a statement like this and I'm thinking of the fact that, typically when a country declares a no-fly zone over another country, that is a precursor to war, right? That is saying that there is going to be war happening very soon here, that if anyone does fly over the country, then we are going to shoot down their aircraft. And Trump's not necessarily saying that. He's just declaring that the airspace needs to be looked at as closed, which is raising a lot of questions to me. It certainly sounds like he's ready for some sort of bombing campaign, but we have, of course, been watching this situation build for weeks now, right? We've been watching as the U.S. sent the world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R Ford, to the Caribbean, watching to see, okay, is something going to happen now? Are there going to be talks? And it just feels like we keep sitting on these simmering tensions that do keep building. But then you get statements like this from Trump, and I'm going, okay, what exactly does he have planned here? Because he is taking a step back and then he's going right back to it. Now, that seems to be Trump's MO in a lot of ways, right? The more that he'll claim that he wants peace, the more that he makes it clear with his actions that he wants more and more war. And we're now seeing a version of that dealing with Venezuela. The Venezuelan Foreign Ministry responded by issuing a statement condemning the colonialist threat aimed at undermining the sovereignty of its airspace. It went on to say this type of declaration constitutes a hostile, unilateral, and arbitrary act. But if we've learned anything from the ongoing genocide targeting the Palestinians in Gaza, it's that the US doesn't care about international law, and arguably, why should they? Literally, no one is standing up to stop them. No one is standing up to tell them, hey, you can't do this. And so they just keep getting more and more reckless in their actions, more and more reckless with their war crimes. And so as you look at Venezuela, and it doesn't even matter, right, the warnings, the writing on the wall here. And I've heard it from multiple guests who have come on my show who have said, if the US decides to pursue a land invasion of Venezuela, it is going to be so much worse than Vietnam, right? The US would be walking into a massive trap. We would see American soldiers coming home in body bags. And we don't see the US right to that point yet of pursuing a full-on land invasion, but they are building up, it seems, for some sort of land strike. And that has been what the US has loved to pursue in recent years, right? Oh, we'll just go bomb whoever we want to. And the American people have become so desensitized to it because they don't feel the impact, right? They don't know what the aftermath of a US airstrike looks like. They have no idea the horrific atrocities that the US military is carrying out with its bombings all around the world. And when it comes to Venezuela, that's where things get particularly interesting because, of course, Trump is claiming he's got to go after illegal drug trafficking, that he's worried about the drugs that are coming over the US southern border. Okay, well, if that's the case, then he certainly seems to be looking in the wrong place because every report I have seen has said that if you're really worried about cocaine coming into the US, then Venezuela does not need to be your target. But that doesn't seem to matter to Trump. I mean, he's approved the CIA to carry out covert operations inside Venezuela. We've watched that the Trump administration has declared that President Nicolas Maduro is the leader of an alleged drug cartel. I still don't know that this cartel that they're talking of even exists. Maybe that's what the CIA is working on inside Venezuela right now. And then on top of that, you also have the fact that they are now working to tie the Venezuelan military to this alleged drug cartel. So I see the way that the Trump administration is doing this, right? I see the way they're kind of storyboarding it out. They're not happy with the Venezuelan military, with the fact that top officials within the military refuse to turn on Maduro and have refused for years now, because this is not the Trump administration's first attempt at taking out Maduro. They haven't been able to do it internally. So now they go, okay, well, how can we target the military? Oh, we'll just claim they're all part of this drug cartel. And when we do carry out strikes, we'll claim that they are targeting drug related sites that just happen to be associated with the Venezuelan military. And the true irony of all of this is that while Trump is actively claiming that he has to go after Maduro because Maduro is the head of a drug cartel and he has to take out all of the illegal drug trafficking, oh, what is Trump also doing? He's announcing that he will pardon the former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was convicted of drug trafficking charges in a U.S. court last year. As a reminder, Hernandez was found guilty in March 2024 of conspiring to import hundreds of tons of cocaine into the U.S. and of possessing machine guns. He was sentenced to 45 years in prison. So on one hand, Trump is over here claiming that we have to go after the narco terrorists, while at the same time using his presidential pardon on a literal narco terrorist who was just convicted in a U.S. court. There is no limit to the hypocrisy here when it comes to what the Trump administration is doing, and it's all out in the open. It's not even like they're secretly like, oh yeah, we gotta set this guy free. No, he's like, yeah, we're allowing this narco terrorist to go while apparently going after the fake ones in Venezuela, the ones that we have created in our minds because we want to see regime change there. It is the most ridiculous pretext for war that we have seen, and I would argue, a very long time, right? Claiming you have to go after drug trafficking, cocaine, and then you've literally, this guy's over here trafficking hundreds of tons of cocaine. Trump is like, no problem. I mean, I don't even want to know how much money was spent on that trial, on getting this guy behind bars, but why is Trump doing that right now? Oh, well, it's because Honduras is holding an election today. And Trump has decided to not only pardon the country's former president, but to throw his support behind the right-wing candidate of the National Party, Nasri Tito Asfura. And on top of that, Trump is threatening to cut financial aid to the Central American nation if he does not win. Like, I love how we've gone through years and years of Russiagate here in the US, these claims of election meddling, and then Trump just wakes up and he's like, oh, by the way, you better vote for the guy that I told you to vote for tomorrow, or else I'm going to cut financial aid to your country. It is US foreign policy, right? Trump is not doing anything necessarily that any other president of the US establishment hasn't done or wouldn't do. It's just the fact that it's so out in the open and so in your face that he's literally over here meddling in the election in Honduras in front of all of us. And bringing it back to Venezuela, we even have reports that Trump spoke on the phone with Maduro last week as he kind of is in this back and forth land where he initially said that time for talks was over and then flip-flopped and said that there was still time to talk. Now you have the New York Times reporting that there was a conversation between Trump and Maduro. They say that it included a discussion about a possible meeting between the two men in the United States, according to two anonymous sources, and that the phone call included Secretary of State Marco Rubio. And I've seen some back and forth on this as to what exactly Trump said or whether he threaten Maduro, because it is being said by some that Trump basically told Maduro, "You've got to leave office or else we're going to remove you." I love the report, though, that, oh, they asked Maduro to come to the US and said that they would chat there. Like, never in a million years does that sound like a good idea for Nicolas Maduro. And that was a free preview of this week's episode of Sanctioned. You can catch the full video available right now if you sign up as a paid subscriber over on my page on Substack. That's rachelblevins.substack.com. You can also catch it over on my page on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Rachel Blevins. As always, thank y'all so much for all of your support, and I'll see you next time.